Hey guys, Graven here. What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Marvel Contest of Champions and the Top 5 Abilities series. Now, I've had Turbo Tim on with me once for this, and today I actually have the person that was supposed to be on with me the very first episode because he's not sick anymore, and I got Rich the Man with me.
I'm clear of the bug.
He is not sick anymore. He doesn't sound like crap like I did. And we are absolutely good to go with our top 5 bleed champions today. Now, just like in the other video, if you guys have a differing opinion to these bleed champions than we do, please leave it in the comment section down below. But please, tell us why. Don't just comment and say, this person, because you suck. Give us a little bit of feedback on why you enjoy that character as a bleed champion as well. Because I can learn something, Rich can learn something, the people reading the comments can learn something. Tim will definitely be back trolling the comment section. He will absolutely learn something. But
I think we're gonna have to set up a hotline, aren't we, for this?
Tim hates me by this point, I think. But alright guys, this is going to be our top 5 bleed champions, and just like any other episode, I'm going to let the guest go first. So let's jump into number 5. Rich?
Number 5 for me is a bit of a kind of a left field thing. It's Guillotine, which a lot of people may find that's a bit strange to have someone like Guillotine, but for me it's that L2. That L2 is it's a thing that, and you'll find there's a lot with the characters I'm choosing. It's kind of aspects about the character rather than being all about the bleed. She does a lot in L2, which is fantastic, especially having the ability where there's no going back, there's no healing.
Yeah.
You're going to just die.
So not only does she bleed characters, but with her L2 ability where she activates her reversing all active healing effects for 10 seconds, any kind of buff that they're getting from willpower off of the bleeds that she's doing is going to get negated as well. So that's awesome. I agree with you 100%. That's an awesome pick. But just so people know, I'm looking at the screen right now with Guillotine up on it, and it's her critical hits lacerate opponents with a 41% chance, inflicting bleed for 92% of your attack over 5.5 seconds. So it's definitely a good bleed too.
Yeah.
Definitely a good bleed. But let's jump in to my number 5. And it kind of falls in line with the same kind of way that you've got Guillotine in there because of the abilities that go along with it. But I went with ULTRON because of not only the fact we got bleed, but the cauterize.
Yeah.
Cauterize does a lot of damage as well. As far as bleed goes, we've got function, bleed, 16% chance, 25% attack rating, 5 seconds. ULTRON, I absolutely hate reading ULTRON's abilities because it's all written like a freaking robot. But I don't know.
Function, critical, function, bleed.
Yeah, it's
exterminate.
Special attacks remove all instances of bleed on target, dealing up to 50% damage for each one removed. So that's where the cauterize comes into play. So
yeah.
But he's an awesome character as far as bleed champions go. And you got anything to add?
Well, obviously at the moment, currently with the state affairs of the game, this seems like a very popular character for end Alliance Wars boss. I don't want to give away too much strategy of what people are doing because people might go, "Hey, I'm up against Graves Alliance. They're probably going to got an Ultron, and I know how to play it." But the fact is, as an end boss, you don't want to face up against this because you've got to put up with the fact you're going to bleed out, and the same thing goes with having self-repair as well. I mean, that's not really kind of essential, but man, you've got to have something with bleed immunity when you go up against this guy.
Oh yeah, definitely, big time. All right, so let's move on into your number 4 pick.
Number 4 for me is kind of it had to feature on the list at some place. It's Wolverine, and I think it's with Wolverine. He's just kind of like he's one of the very first bleeders of the game, and obviously we've had so many reskins of Wolverine in different kind of ages, and needs, and obviously we're going to maybe getting a Weapon X at some point. So yeah, Wolverine on the bleed. It just seems that the character would be associated with anything that bleeds. Stick three sharp things into you, and you're gonna bleed out nicely.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Now with Wolverine, we've got critical hits lacerate opponents with a 66% chance, inflicting bleed damage for 80% of your attack over 5.5 seconds. And I think the big thing that I like about Wolverine too is that he stacks the bleeds. Same way with Ultron. It's not just a bleed. It's a stacked bleed. So I love that about him. And he also gets it off of his special attacks as well.
Yeah.
Special attack
so
3.
Yeah. I mean, what's great about these characters, these bleed characters in general, is everything changes with willpower. These characters are far more playable and enjoyable mainly in arenas. It's so much better to play these characters now and not know that, oh look, they're regenerating some health.
Yep. Yeah, because it just stops at 1 now. So if you got a character that stacks bleeds, that 1's all they're going to heal for. The rest of it's going to be total damage. So I love it. Let's move on.
Just quickly on Wolverine, the duration as well is really, really good to see, like a higher duration on things like your critical hits and the specials in general, because not a lot of characters have a larger amount of time on their bleed.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. The longer the bleed, the better. So,
absolutely.
Now I'm kind of in the same vein as you with my number 4, but instead of Wolverine, I went with X-23. Now, obviously, X-23 is Wolverine in the new era of comics, but she's always going to be X-23 to me. I kind of don't really like the Wolverine version of her, but I love X-23, and I think a lot of people don't realize with X-23 is that her claws, she does still have 3 claws, but with like kind of an error with the coding of whatever it was whenever they created her as a clone, she ended up with one of her claws between her toes. And it does show up in the game, like with heavy attacks, and it shows up with some of her special attacks. The claw does come out. It'd be kind of awkward to have her walking around the game with a claw stuck out between her toes the whole time. But even
it's terrible misbalancing.
Oh yeah, definitely. That would suck. I mean, could you imagine having a claw stuck out between your toes?
Yeah.
So her frenzy absolutely helps as well. I don't have my X-23 4-star awakened, but frenzy, as long as the opponent continues to bleed, Wolverine presses in for the kill, increasing critical chance and critical damage, which is huge to me. And she has just about as much ability to bleed as Wolverine does. He's got like a 0.5 second on top of hers, but critical hits lacerate opponents with a 75% chance, inflicting bleed damage for 98% of your attack over 5 seconds, and that's on critical hits. And then you get the bleed triggered off of all attacks, and you also get you get the buff off of all attacks. The buff whenever they are bleeding, and the special attacks, any bleed or cruelty effect triggered, lasts 23% longer than normal, and has 23% increased potency if she makes them bleed off of the special attacks. So it's an awesome bleed to me.
Yeah, and just kind of like I'm just trying to get my masteries up just to have a look at the deep wounds and assassinate, because going hand in hand with something like that, these characters in general, including the assassination that X-23 does, you're just going to get an all-round fantastic character for getting that last little punch in that's just going to wipe out so much health, whether it's through bleed or it's through crits.
Oh yeah, definitely all the new masteries and stuff, but you got to think too, eventually they're going to put stuff in there to screw everybody over and counteract all that. So
yeah,
it'll eventually happen. Trust me, guys. It always happens. But all right, so let's move on into your number 3 spot.
Number 3 for me has got to be Black Panther, and this is the non-Civil War one. Just because, again, one of the very early characters in the game. Bit of a kind of a love for the character and its bleedability, because it's just really good. I think it was one of the first characters going to get a large amount of. It was easier to, same with Wolverine. It's like easier to stack the amount of bleed on the characters, which, and aesthetically, seeing those claws there, those three claws on the character looks cool. I do like that.
Yeah, he's definitely got the abilities. He's got lacerate, which is his signature ability, which kicks it in big time. 8% chance, 66.7% of your attack is direct damage over 7 seconds. And obviously that 8% is going to fluctuate the higher the level you go. So critical hits lacerate opponents with a 70% chance, inflicting bleed damage for 55% of your attack over 3 seconds. That's the key thing with him. It's only 3 seconds, but my God, he can stack like 6 or 7 of those things on top of you. So it's absolutely insane. Special attacks damage increased by 5% for each instance of bleed on the target. So that's pretty cool. It's all of them, all of his special attacks. I mean, it's just he is a bleed master.
I know that with the most recent Black Panther, I'm just trying to find information on it. There is a synergy which is applicable to. I don't know if I can find it. Could be wrong. Here we go. Skill domination. So the skill champion deal plus 20% bleed damage.
Yep.
Which is, it's cool for the Civil War version. But it's a shame that the older one doesn't get that. But still, if you could put these two in a synergy group together, you're going to get some crazy bleed damage.
Oh yeah, if you put, because he is one that you can put in it. You can put Civil War Black Panther with Black Panther, and then he gets that synergy bonus.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of groovy. I mean, if you want to bleed people out pretty hardcore, throw that team together. You've got Civil War Black Panther, and Hawkeye. And they could like dominate, or anybody else, because you only need one or the other. You don't need Black Panther and Hawkeye. You can use Black Panther and then your other favorite bleed champion, and they can do the damage as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's pop back out of here. All right, guys, so let's move into my number 3. And as you can tell, there's a little bit of a discrepancy between what's going on with what we had previously going with the actual Contest of Champions gameplay, but apparently Contest decided to go into emergency maintenance while me and Rich were shooting the video. So I am currently on the Marvel Contest of Champions Wikia page, and my number 3 is Deadpool X-Force. Now, I absolutely love this character. It was one of those characters that his bleed was absolutely awful whenever Willpower was around, because it was a constant bleed, it was a constant healer. It didn't really give you any kind of oomph to your punches because they were just gaining everything back. But his L2 is absolutely insane. Can't really get a good look at it in here to say exactly what it does. So, okay, it's an attack with 2 swords, and there's an awesome spin and 2 swords, blah, blah, blah. X% chance to inflict bleed, dealing X% of your attack as direct damage over X seconds. That X is amazing. I wish we were in game.
Yeah, kids, don't take X.
Don't
whatever
take
it is.
the X.
I think the best thing to say about it is it bleeds a lot. Like if you, it will take a good chunk of your health bar away. If you get hit by it, my word, watch out. Well, he's even worse not worse, but it's like the good aspects of the characters, because it's got obviously the duodenum poke, which is the constant bleeding if he hits. Second thing is the L2 and the L3, which do crazy amounts of damage. The worst thing is you're gonna get, because the character gets power gain, the chances are you're gonna get regularly hit by those specials, which means you're going to be bleeding out like there's no business.
Oh yeah, definitely. So there we go. That's our top 3 picks. So now let's move on in to our number 2. Rich?
Number 2 for me is Gamora, which again is like a bit of a left field type character. And again, it's based on that L2 and L3, which are the most they're kind of very destructive in a kind of a similar way that the Punisher kind of does his moves. They're very destructive from this assassin, similar in some ways to Guillotine, but the bleed is a nice tasty number.
Oh yeah.
Instead.
Special attacks grant an 86% chance to bleed, 182% damage over 5 seconds for the 4-star. So that's you can't beat that, you know. That's on all special attacks. And then if you take into consideration assassination, when it happens, it's only a 25% fixed chance. I haven't seen it happen in like ages, so kind of ticks me off a little bit.
Yeah.
I love it when assassination happens. Hate it when it doesn't.
Yeah. It's what a troll.
Yeah. And since we're not actually in game and I have to do this from the actual web page, I have no cheat sheets for my number 2 and number 1 anymore. But my number 2, we're gonna move on in to number 2, right? We're on number 2. We are on number 2.
You're number 2. You're number 2.
Jesus Christ, this thing's got me all clustered. My number 2 for bleed is Captain America World War II. And anybody who runs Alliance Quest with this character knows that level 2 attack that bleeds is the absolute best thing in the world.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love him. Absolutely love him for that attack. Where are we? Shield Toss. At a 4-star, 100% chance to bleed, 82% damage for 4 seconds. It's not the longest in the world, but my God, it seems like it drains them. Like I can be in map 5 on the very last day, and I only have to hit them most of the time with an L3 or an L2 and an L1, and the match is over.
Yeah. That bleed is it's kind of a welcome surprise. It's like an icing on the cake. Because the character obviously gets, a certain amount of armor, great parrying ability and defensive ability. I'm trying to think of the right word. Was it block proficiency?
Yeah, he has him and the regular Cap. They have like the best block proficiency in the game as far as having a natural block proficiency.
And then adding on to that character, the fact that it can bleed so well is, again, like I said, icing on the cake to add to a very good character in general.
Yep, definitely. So now, guys, let's move on into our number 1 picks.
Number 1 for me is, that's a terrible drum roll, but it's Deadpool X-Force. Now, I know, obviously, Grave just mentioned, and we did just talk about Deadpool X-Force, but why he's my number 1 and how I didn't let on that he's my number 1 is just based on the extent of the bleeding. Duodenum Poke is a kind of a consistent and always there bleed ability that the character has, coupled with the fact that L2 and the L3 are just insane for the amount of damage that can be done via bleed, and then adding on things like certain masteries, you're going to see just a great bleeding character. That's really, I think, nothing really more to say about that because I think we covered him.
Yeah, definitely. And since I'm actually looking at the page correctly now, 100% chance to bleed off of the L2 for 215% damage for 4 seconds. So it's kind of weird. The 2-star actually gets a 5-second bleed, but it's only got 45% damage. 45% damage. So I guess it kind of works itself out. And coming in at number 1 for me, this is actually a character that Rich brought up earlier, and my number 1 pick is Black Panther. Because, like I said earlier, Black Panther can actually bleed someone out like a stuck pig, man. It's uncanny, especially with Lacerate. T'Challa's fists give way to cat-like claws, carving limitless lacerations in his targets with a 8% chance, each dealing 48.7% of your attack as direct damage over 7 seconds. But that's just a signature ability. He gets bleed off of all kinds of other stuff too. Gets bleed off of his regular attacks. He's an awesome character as far as bleed goes.
Yeah.
But alright, so that is our top 5 bleed champions. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for putting up with the technical issues that did occur and do sometimes occur in these kind of instances. Thanks to Kabam and the apparently blown up potatoes and dead hamsters at the server room that caused us to go into emergency maintenance. But these things do happen. Most people know that with Kabam at this point. But yeah, like I said earlier at the beginning of the episode, if you guys have differing opinions, please leave them down in the comment section below and give an explanation. Why, guys? I mean, if you just want to say, I like this person, that's fine. But if you have, like, a rude comment to leave on top of it, at least explain why you have to be rude about it. That's the key thing. Being rude is rude. Being rude with an explanation makes it okay in my book.
And Turbo Tim is happy to receive all your hate calls. You can find him on 0800 Talk to Tim. That's 0800 Talk to Tim. That's
a good chat, man. That is a good chat. But all right, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Rich, for being on with me today. It's an honor and a privilege every time that I have you on.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like on it. If it's the first time watching the channel and you enjoyed the video, please leave a sub on it. Head on over to RichtheMan's channel. The link will be in the description box down below. And definitely give Rich a sub as well. Rich is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so are you.
All right, guys. Later.
Bye-bye.